As a first-generation Latina, statistically, I was not supposed to graduate college, let alone apply to a PhD program. When I was in high school and graduation was coming, I was terrified. I didn't really know where I was going to go, but I would hear my high school peers talk about college, talk about planning for the SAT, and sounding so eager for the future. And as I would hear these conversations around me, even if they weren't directly pointed at me, it got me thinking, maybe university is for me. I didn't have the best high school grades. I had average grades, and a majority of the classes I took were ELD or remedial math courses for my entire high school journey. But I still wanted to persevere. I then decided to attend community college. Again, terrified, but I knew it was important for me to start somewhere. You see, high school taking classes wasn't the only thing I had to work on. I would be a student at school, but once I would get home, I had physical and caretaker responsibilities to attend to. I remember mis padres always working long hours, sometimes up to 6 days a week. So what did that mean? Well, someone had to cook, someone had to clean, and somebody had to help the younger siblings figure out their stuff. We were all trying our best. And all I remember is that me and my older sister, we always tried our best to be good Mexican-American daughters and students, whatever that meant. So community college is happening, and my course load, once again, not to the surprise of me, but I landed in remedial type courses as well that were non-transferable, and one intro to psychology class. And throughout this journey, I didn't really know who to ask questions to. Nobody had graduated in my family yet with a college degree. So I sought mentorship, even though 18-year-old Estrellita didn't know what mentorship meant. But that's what I looked for, and support. So eventually I found myself, like most other students, heading out to club day. And I found a club that had committed faculty that was focused on assisting, supporting, and giving research opportunities, experiences to prospective graduate students at the community college level. I felt supported, I felt heard, and was continuing to do the responsibilities of me as a student and as a daughter. Then I transferred. I transferred to a 4-year university. I never thought I would get there. But little did I know the barriers, they weren't going to stop there. I remember seeing my college peers, it seemed like they were living a different life than I was, even though we were on the same campus. All I remember is I was constantly working or primarily at school. I didn't see myself in situations like you see in the movies when people would be in their classes and then going out to have some fun. I don't really remember much fun moments. I just remember I have to work, whether it's 2 to 3 jobs, to help contribute paying for my schooling and go to school. And with all of that, no matter how much I tried, at the end of the first quarter after transferring to my dream university, I fell onto academic probation. I had never felt like more of a failure in my life. Not only did I feel like I failed myself, but as if I had failed my immigrant parents and my professors who dedicated so much time to mentor me. As time progressed, I eventually ended up meeting Hispanic and Latina faculty at that university, and they helped and mentored me until I got off of academic probation, and I continued to work with them. That was the first time in my academic trajectory where I met faculty who looked like me. And I felt like my graduate school dreams were rekindled. Because up to that point, I knew I wanted to pursue a PhD. I finally walked the stage and get my bachelor's degree. And I remember after walking that stage, I found myself feeling broken and lost inside. There was just so much in my mind, and I didn't know how to comprehend it at the time. All I knew was graduate school was where I wanted to be next. Then the time for me to apply to graduate school had arrived. And even though I had all these feelings inside, I knew I wanted to keep pursuing. Something was telling me because I just knew higher education was important for me. So throughout this process, and I finally apply, and I'm waiting to hear back from master's programs, I started to wonder, why do I feel like this? Who can I ask that can give me the answers to these questions? And I didn't know who to ask. So I decided to do my own research. And I found myself realizing that I was a first-generation college student. Took long enough, right? And then I started to wonder more, what makes me feel different? And as I kept Googling and researching, I started to learn that it is common for first-generation college students to come from a background with limited support, limited to low income, and the list goes on. With having all this information, it first made me feel validated, knowing, okay, I'm not alone. And then it just brought more questions. So then again, I found myself just researching on my own time. How many Latinos actually go to college? In the Pew Research Center, 2016, there was an article that stated that about 15% of Latinos obtain bachelor's or higher level degrees. And things started to make sense that I didn't realize at the time, but I'm realizing now as I'm continuing to learn these things. And it brought more questions. How many Latinas have bachelor's degrees? How many Latinas, Latinos go to graduate school? How many first-generation Latinx students have college degrees? I started to think of the gender. I started to think of all the things that you could imagine. And I wanted to just build awareness, to talk about this, to build conversations. I didn't know where to go, but I just knew I wanted to keep going. And with these questions, I was just reflecting back, and more questions started to come. As I continued to learn about these numbers and statistics, not only was I feeling validated, but everything was making sense because I thought I was the only one that felt that school was harder than it needed to be. I felt that I was just not being the best daughter nor student because I kept trying to figure out how to navigate both an individualistic culture that is common in academia, as well as the collectivistic values of my culture. It's fascinating what research can do. Questions start to happen. And then once you have those questions, you want to talk about them, build conversations. And that's what I wanted to continue to do. An article was published by the University of Arizona, and Desiree Vega had stated that it is most common for Latinos to be first-generation students and come from low-income backgrounds, which brought my next question. Why am I now just hearing about these stories, coming upon this research about first-generation Latinx students? And why isn't there more of it yet? As a first-generation Latina college graduate, it is important for me to use my voice, to use my studies, to be representation, and to continue sharing my experiences in hopes that it will allow and validate other first-generation students that can relate to me, that they have the power to do the same. Because when we all come together and we use our strengths and our voice, change will continue to happen. We've made it this far within our education trajectories. It's no secret that we will continue to go further. Thank you.